my name's Leanne Buckley-Thomson. I'm a barrister at number 5 Chambers. I have 2 diagnoses, one ADHD and 2 autism level 1. So I think that my neurodivergence has given me alternative perspectives when dealing with projects. I think perhaps a little bit differently sometimes about things in a positive way. I think outside the box. I am used to coming at problems from a different angle. I also think, particularly with my ADHD, I am quite a quick thinker. My brain goes 10 to the dozen, and I'm very used to processing lots of different things all at once. And that comes in really handy when I'm at inquiry, for example, and I'm having to listen to a witness's response to a question that I've asked, think simultaneously about references in the bundle that would back up or contradict what they have said in response, and also think about a question to ask as a follow-up on my feet, because obviously not all questions are prepared. You can never guess 100% what a witness is going to say. But with that in mind, I do think that it has also helped me to anticipate people's particular responses. My autism, I would say, in particular may have helped with that, because I was diagnosed late and have become quite adept at masking, and as part and parcel of masking you learn social cues, social norms, and how to best respond to those. And that gives you a benefit when you're asking questions of witnesses, because you can spot patterns and spot themes in the way that somebody's operating that can assist you in how you then respond in turn to them. In terms of reasonable adjustments in my workplace, it's a little bit more interesting because I'm self-employed, so therefore I have autonomy and responsibility for my own practice, and I do spend quite a lot of time working on my own in my home office, which is where I am now. So I have taken it upon myself to through a lot of learning and listening to myself and reflecting on the way that I work, to make sure that I acknowledge and am constantly aware of what works best for me, and then building that into my approach to my work in my practice, and also making sure that I am setting myself up with the right tools, both physically and mentally, to be able to do the work in the way that best works for me and my brain. But of course I do have a clerking team, and part and parcel of that working relationship working most effectively in my view is communication, and making sure that I'm updating the clerks consistently as to what it is that I have on my schedule for any particular week, and how it is that I'm planning to divide up my work schedule in any particular week. They are very helpful in terms of putting in additional diary entries to me than perhaps they might be used to, in terms of not only the usual deadline, but also some mini deadlines to prompt me and remind me of the ultimate one. They will section off preparation time for me at my request, and look out for regular updates to chop and change around my diary in a way that suits me, and that has worked really effectively for me. Similarly, having that ongoing communication with me in terms of what's working best, and how else they can best assist me in terms of the way that I work. I do think that reasonable adjustments that I've requested have helped in a meaningful way, particularly the willingness and ability of the clerks to have perhaps a higher level of communication with me than they might have with other barristers, so that we are all on the same page in terms of what it is that I'm doing and what works best for me. I benefit in particular from keeping my own records as well as Chambers having their records. So for example, when I bill work, I have my own spreadsheet. That helps my brain to have that, so that I can make sure I'm on top of everything, and that I am not missing any billing, and that I know what work I need to do when, and that's really reassuring and helpful. And similarly, as I mentioned in the answer to a previous question, them updating the diary in a way that works most effectively for me has really helped to make sure that I can manage my work well, and I never miss deadlines, and I always deliver work to the utmost quality for my clients, because I ensure that we have effective communication between myself and the clerks, and then in turn to the client. Thinking about my decision to disclose my neurodivergence and the factors that played a part in that decision, it would be remiss of me not to acknowledge that part of my considerations were the potential for negative kickback, if I can describe it that way, mainly because there are undoubtedly some negative stereotypes in wider society about neurodivergence, as there often is with anything that people are less familiar with and perhaps don't fully understand. And therefore the concern that perhaps people might be dissuaded from working with me or instructing me because they might be worried about how my neurodivergence could negatively impact their case. But ultimately, I strongly believe that there needs to be change in relation to how people view neurodivergent people. There needs to be more of a recognition of the qualities and the skills that people with neurodivergence can bring to the table on any project, not just in the realms of law. And if you want to bring about change, you need to be an actor for change yourself. And that's why my overriding decision was to make it known that I have ADHD and autism, so that I am being an active part in changing people's perceptions, and hopefully, I would hope, providing a role model for people that might be considering this profession and worried that there aren't people like them in the profession, because it can be hard to spot that somebody is like you unless they tell you that they are like you. And my experience has been nothing but positive in terms of the feedback I get from clients, the value that my work brings to projects, and I've never had any negative response to the way that I work because of my neurodivergence. If I had to travel back in time, the wisdom that I would give to my younger self about joining and navigating the legal profession as a neurodivergent person, would probably just be actually more words of encouragement, in the sense of, don't worry, there is a space for you here. There are so many different clients, so many different types of case, so many specialisms, so many different types of work, that there will be a space for you. There is a place for you and who you are. There are clients and decision makers that will really like your approach to things. You will find your people, and that actually the things that you know about yourself and might even think negatively of in terms of how they stand you apart from other people may well just end up being the very reasons why people look to you and want to instruct you to help them with their problems, because you are adding something of value that is different, that is a fresh perspective, and that can really carve out a route that other people might not have thought of to a resolution in their matter. So keep at it. So in terms of networking strategies that I have developed to assist me and work effectively with my neurodivergence, it's a very personal thing. People will have different things that they struggle with compared with others. So you really need to, I think, reflect on what it is that works best for you. Think really carefully about what you find uncomfortable, what you find more comfortable, and remember that networking can look like lots of different things. It doesn't have to be events in rooms full of lots and lots of people. It can be one-on-one. Likewise, if you struggle with one-on-one, you can make sure that you're doing more group-based networking. So, reflect on what it is that helps you best. For me personally, I do big events. I have no issues at all about speaking in front of lots of people. I'm a barrister. But I do find the sort of social communication side of things at networking events a little bit more uncomfortable. It's not that I'm not good at it, it's that I do find it a bit uncomfortable, and I do find it a bit draining. So I tend to try to think about what work I'm going to be doing after the event and trying to build in some respite there. So perhaps having a paperwork day, or just making sure I can take a little bit of time for myself before I move on to the next task. And also making sure that I have a decent mix of different types of networking. I personally think that relationships are much better when they're genuine, and the way to get genuine relationships is to be yourself ultimately. And if people don't like you, they won't like you, and if they do like you, they like you. There's space for everybody, and different clients want different things, so you will be the right person for somebody. So be yourself and develop genuine relationships over time. Don't rush it, and those genuine relationships will be worth a lot. And that's really where the majority of your focus, I think, should be, and where you'll feel most comfortable as well. It can be really hard when you're starting out to remind yourself of that. I could change one thing about the legal profession to make it better for neurodivergent people. I think it would probably just be more openness and acceptance that neurodivergence is a thing and it's a positive thing. And how do we achieve that? Well, I think by doing things like this, by having people that feel comfortable enough to share that they are neurodivergent, sharing it, putting themselves out there so that others who are entertaining the profession and joining it and might be worried about that feel more comfortable doing so, and then fostering a general recognition on the fact that neurodivergence can bring a lot of positivity to the table. And that's not to say that neurotypical people don't bring lots of positive things. It's just a wider recognition of the fact that people, whether neurodivergent or not, have different skills and have different things that they can bring to the table and add value with. And there is nothing wrong with being neurodivergent. Your brain works in the way that it works. There will always be clients and projects for you, just as there is with anyone who has a different skill set. The more different types of brain that we have working towards a solution, the better able we are to get to a solution, I think. The more discussion we have around the way that different people think and different people approach things, the more likely we are to evolve and progress as a legal profession. So having that sort of open culture and encouragement of openness and encouragement of people communicating and explaining how they work and how that can be effective, those are all things that would be really positive.